just in case.
There it is. There it is.
Launch it. Shoot it.
Thanks and shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Nick Bernard, for that video he sent in. Nick was at the game, and if you're listening to this, you probably like, what are you talking about? But if you're watching it before you saw Harb and I's beautiful faces, you saw a video live and in person. Nick Bernard was at the game with his dad yesterday at Thompson Bowling Arena and captured the buzzer beater, Harbin. Mashack takes down Alabama, and we'll get all into all that in a minute. But just crazy. I had to leave my house at the under 4-minute timeout to go to Jim Williams Gymnasium. The Hornets were hosting the Gibbs Eagles in the region quarterfinal at Jim's Gym. And so me and Ethan Rimmer and Coach Rimmer and a couple others were watching it on our phones there at the scores table. And when Mashack hit it, E was ahead of me, and he said buzzer beater right when on my phone when Mashack shot it. And I didn't know what he meant by that. I just thought he was saying it's a buzzer beater shot or something. And then you hear other people in the gym start yelling and screaming. And then Coach Kate's dad came over and said, what happened? And we said, buzzer beater, 3-pointer buzzer beater. And he said, by who? And we said, Mashack. And he said, Mashack? it was like the last person you expect. And I'll get into my feelings on that here in a moment. But just the last person you expect to hit a shot like that. But it was a crazy finish to that game yesterday. And, of course, Harb and I will get into it here shortly. But many are saying, Harb, the best college basketball game of the year across the whole spectrum of college basketball. Many are saying.
Many have legs, to be honest with you. That was pretty much all you can ask for out of college basketball. It was college basketball at its best for the most part. There was mayhem. Only fitting that it happened on March 1st. March is here. March is among us. That's one of those games where you're absolutely gutted if you lose, and it's one of the best things that's happened to you in weeks if you win. And that's the beauty of the sport, especially at the collegiate level.
So I was having dinner with Reagan tonight, and of course she's a big Auburn fan. And have you seen the video of the Auburn Tigers on the bus watching the end of the game when Mashack hits the buzzer beater? Because what it does is it clinched, I believe, and we'll get into the standings here shortly, but I'm pretty sure, yep, it is. It clinched Auburn the outright SEC title with that win. Tennessee's win over Bama clinches Auburn the outright SEC title. They're up 3 games. There's only 2 games left, so Bama can't catch them. So they literally were singing Rocky Top on the bus. Like, I don't know how to feel about that. If Tennessee had done that, I would probably be pretty pissed off right now that they were singing another team's fight song. I know why they were doing it, but it's so weird to me that they did that. Like, just celebrate. Why are you singing Rocky Top? And not even well. They didn't even sing it well.
Well, you also got to look at it as we took down Alabama for them, and I've got my feelings about Auburn in basketball, but an enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I don't mind them singing it. It's a little weird, but if roles were reversed and we yelled War Eagle a couple times, I wouldn't be too mad at it.
Did you see Bruce's tweet?
No, I did not.
He tweeted VFL and Go Tigers last night.
Oh, so he's pulling a Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, he is.
He's pulling a Lane Kiffin.
He is. Well, just a crazy.
Hashtag come to the corner.
Yeah. Just a crazy day yesterday. We got a lot to talk about. There's Tennessee basketball, of course. There's Tennessee baseball, big weekend down there in Houston at the formerly the Big Juice Box, and also we'll get into this a little later, Harbin, Elimination Chamber. Huge night, huge happenings last night at Skydome in Toronto.
I still haven't watched it.
So I've had this conversation back and forth about the Peacock app. Well, the Hornets played last night. We went to Amigos after the game. We always go to Amigos after the game to decompress. And got back, and I was like, I'm gonna get home, gonna relax, go back and watch Elimination Chamber.
Did the Hornets win last night?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
79-61 over the Eagles.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I'll get to that later because there was two like great performances in that game I have to highlight. But anyways, was going to watch Elimination Chamber. You cannot start it from the beginning while it's live. I couldn't rewind it. I couldn't start from beginning. Like there's got to be a way. Like when I got on there, it was press conferences for like 2 hours. I just gave up on it and went to bed. I was like, I'll just watch it tomorrow. I'll piss on it. But watched it this afternoon. Really, really good. I skipped through one match. It was a women's tag team match. I'm not real sure why that was on the show, but rest of the show was great. It was a great pay-per-view, well executed. If you haven't watched it, we're not going to spoil it, but watch till the end. Something huge happened. The final boss did make an appearance, though. So I won't. Harb's probably already heard what happens, but
Dude, yeah, I have a cell phone. I've seen it 20 times, but I do want to watch it unfold.
Chad Grubb actually sent me a clip last night on Instagram of it, and I said, I'm not watching this because I want to watch, like, I want to go back and watch it. But I'd already seen people tweeting about what happened. So I kind of had an idea. I didn't know how it went down, but well executed.
I've stayed off Twitter for 2 days, and I got it ruined for me by a random post on Facebook by one of my Facebook friends. I took every approach imaginable, and a girl that I used to work with is how it got ruined for me. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Out of all the ways, unbelievable.
Yeah. Anyway,
unbelievable.
Let's get into the Vols.
All right, where do you want to start? Tennessee basketball or Tennessee baseball, Harbin?
I think we need to start with basketball.
Let's do that. So big week for the Vols, 2-0. They've improved to 11-5 in the SEC, 24-5 overall. First off, they played LSU late Wednesday night. Love 9:00 tip-offs on a Wednesday night. But they were down in the Bayou and, led the whole game. It wasn't the prettiest game, but what have I said on here? It's what you're going to get with Tennessee. They're not going to come out and they might sometimes, but they're not going to come out and look flashy and dominate most of the time. But did what they needed to do, got out of there with a win, set up a huge matchup. Is there anything you want to talk about the Tennessee LSU game on Wednesday night?
No, we did what needed to be done, and we kind of screwed around in the last couple minutes, and that's why it ended up being a 6-point game. It was not a 6-point game, but they hit a couple threes, and we kind of pitter-pattered around and made it look better than what it actually was.
Right. Well, I think the last one I saw was 10.5, and we got up 12 or 13 or 14 there late, and then just couldn't push them away and just kind of let them hang around. So
Vegas made the call to
Vegas.
We're on Tennessee.
Vegas, they gave them the nod. But, nice win. They needed to win that game. They couldn't lose that game. So did what they needed to do there, and then it set up a huge game. And we joke around, many were saying one of, if not the biggest game in Thompson Bowling Arena history. I think with all that was on the line, you had a possible 1 seed at stake, seeding in the SEC tournament at stake, more for Tennessee than Alabama. But both of these teams were top 4 in the conference, so they're trying to hold on to double buys so they don't have to play until Thursday or Friday. But the only other game I could think of in recent memory that would probably be close to that was that 2019 Kentucky game here at home. That was the game that Bowden dominated Hero, and they had the Grant Williams, the Bowden alley oop dunk, and then the Schofield. That's a man's jam dunk from
Jordan Bowden on a rack attack.
on a rack attack. Yes,
Rack
Fine
attack.
Eagle, great call. Bowden with the rack attack, Schofield with a man's jam. That game, Tennessee led back and forth, but led most of the second half in that game. And that was like, I think Kentucky was like 4 and we were 7, or 3 versus 6, something like that. But many were saying, Harbin, this was the biggest game in Thompson Bowling Arena history. Do you agree with that, or what was your thoughts on that? I mean, was it?
It was huge. I'd have to go back and look. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no, just because that's a very large statement, and that like conference crown wasn't at stake. I mean, it is kind of funny that we were playing for a 1 seed and not playing for the conference. When have you ever said
Isn't that crazy?
When have you ever said that in the SEC? But yeah, it was a huge game. I'm not trying to downplay it whatsoever. I just have to go back and look at it. It was definitely one of the biggest games in that building that building's ever seen, and it was awesome. You know, two teams that are as good as Tennessee and Alabama are, that play for the most part completely different styles of basketball, and they hate each other. Like you got everything you wanted, and it was an awesome game for 40 minutes. I don't think the lead ever got to double digits on each side. It was back and forth. Bama took control in the final, 7 or 8 minutes of the ball game. It kind of looked like they were in the driver's seat, especially in the last couple minutes. Didn't look like we were going to pull it out. And then at the end, it looked like the best case scenario was get it done in overtime, and then the unthinkable happened. So it was one of, if not the best college basketball games of the season. And like I said earlier, it was extremely fitting that it happened on the first day of March, kicking this shit off right.
So I went back and looked, Harb. The game I was talking about, and this will all tie in here. The game I was talking about was March 2nd, 2019. Number 7 Tennessee hosted number 4 Kentucky. Kentucky was 24-5 overall, 13-3 in the conference. Tennessee was 26-3, 14-2 after the game in the conference. Tennessee won 71-52. Since that game, and this comes from Tennessee Stats and Info on X, at Vol_stats. Since that game, Rick Barnes led Tennessee teams possess a 9-1 record at home against AP top 10 teams, including a perfect 8-0 tally since March 2nd, 2019. Barnes has led Vol Hoops to a perfect 8-0 record at home against AP top 6 opponents during his 10-year tenure on Rocky Top. That's pretty incredible record against elite competition.
It's pretty damn crazy. I saw that earlier today, and it didn't feel like a real stat. Like that, like
it doesn't.
We have an elite home court advantage, which I teed that up for you. So go ahead.
It was a tough day for the Thompson Bowling isn't loud crowd yesterday. I don't know. I watched it on TV until I had to leave. Like I said, I had to leave early, and went back last night and watched it again, where I could sit down and watch it. And Jimmy Dykes referenced it several times, and you could almost hear him and Carl Ravitch and Dick Vitale, who was there. That was also awesome. No pun intended. But they were having to yell on the broadcast because it was so loud in Thompson Bowling Arena yesterday. And it was over like 700 over capacity or something like that. I'm sure the fire marshal loved that. But on TV, I wasn't there. I need to talk to somebody that was. I think Thomas Raines was there. Nick Bernard was there. I need to ask him. It was probably Thomas, probably better because he goes to more games. But on TV, that was the loudest I think I can remember hearing Thompson bowling. That Kentucky game that I referenced a minute ago, that game was extremely loud. I don't know if this game was louder. It sure sounded like it on TV, Harb. It was kind of, I don't know where you watched it, if you were able to hear. It sounded like it was an electric atmosphere in that arena yesterday.
Yeah, I was at work. We had the sound on though, and you, I could definitely tell that it was rocking, especially
What,
towards the end.
what was the reaction when that shot went in there at the Aubreys?
Oh, Aubrey's actually turned into an actual bar for about 20 minutes.
Like
It
a
was,
legit bar.
yeah. I think I busted a speaker playing Rocky Top after Mashack's interview. I was going to give him his respect and flowers that he deserves because a lot of the haters and losers out there have tried to take credit away for that from that young man for the majority of his tenure at this university. I was going to let him be heard because I've always defended Mashack. He is my dog, and it's a real tough look for the Mashack can't shoot crowd because not only did he hit that game winner, he hit the two free throws that tied up to even get us in that spot. So
Yeah. I want to talk about that for a few minutes.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead. Finish up.
no, you're good. Just right before you get into it, it also couldn't happen to a better guy.
I love I love
He-
Jemai Mashack. I text Grub earlier today. People who've listened to this show religiously know that I'm a huge Mashack fan. I've for the last 2 or 3 years, like he's been my guy for the Volunteers. I know there's probably better players, but that guy, he like lays it all on the line. He may not play well all the time, especially on the offensive end, but that dude does so much stuff you don't see, like the common fan doesn't see. But I hate, like I have jerseys, but they have no numbers or names on them because I'm a grown adult, and I don't think grown adults should wear jerseys of other grown men with their names and number on it. But I might make an exception for that rule for myself and go buy a Jemai Mashack number 15 jersey that they sell at the Vol shop because I love Jemai Mashack. And that was another thing that really bothered me. I don't know if you saw earlier in the week. Remember, we had Jordan Moore on here a couple weeks ago, and we discussed the starting lineups. And there's that one lineup, or the starting lineup Tennessee has, that one lineup that's minus at the time 31, which is not good according to the metrics. And it's basically linked to Jemai Mashack. And Jordan had tweeted that, talked about it. He talked about it on here. Well, he got a lot of hate thrown his way, and he basically backtracked on it a little bit. And he basically said, and if you listen to or look at his tweet, he wasn't backing off of it, but he was just backing off of, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Because he got a lot of crap stirred up last week about Jemai Mashack. And should he be playing, or would we be better without him? Whatever it was. And all Jordan was doing was tweeting factual statistics. And it's not even necessarily, I said it last week. I was like, maybe that is that Mashack's fault. I don't know if it's his fault, but that lineup, maybe it's not him. Maybe it's just that lineup. Whatever it is, that lineup doesn't play very well together for the majority of the time they're on the court. That doesn't mean Jemai Mashack's a bad basketball player. He's perfect for this team. He does the little things. He rebounds. He caused that 5-second violation yesterday. Go back and watch the film. He caused that 5-second violation. Chaz Lanier got an and one, missed the free throw that would have made it a 1-point game. Instead, it's 76-74, but Mashack on the rebound beats his guy and draws a foul. The guy clearly shoves him in the back. So he gets to go to the line, drains 2 free throws. We're tied. I mean, the guy just made, I say it all the time, winners win.
Chad Grubb.
That's what Chad Grubb, and that's what Tennessee basketball is, a winning basketball program, and they know how to win. I say it here all the time. I'm not putting them in the category of a Georgia or Alabama football because we haven't won a national title. But you can put them in that same ilk because they go out and win games. They probably shouldn't have won that game yesterday, but they did, and that's what championship and elite programs do. They find a way to win. But I might suspend my policy on those jerseys, Harbin, and I might go drop $100 and whatever on a Mashack jersey because he'll get a piece of it.
That'd be a good one to do it for if you're going to do it. But for real, and like I talked about this, I don't know, probably 5 times today at work with different people. That couldn't have been better, better player to hit the shot. It was literally best case scenario, especially with all the talk online, which is a very small sector of the fan base. I'm not going to pretend like it's everybody, but they're talking about, are we better with him not on the court? The answer is absolutely not. We're just not. In my opinion, he is Tennessee basketball's Marcus Smart. He does the little things. He's a hell of a defender. In my opinion, he's the best defender on the team. And I know that sounds crazy because Ziegler's the defending SEC Defensive Player of the Year. But just for size alone, I would rather Mashack be guarding somebody's best player. That's just me, though. But it was just awesome. I'm super happy for him. And hopefully now that he finally got some spotlight, my nickname that I've been trying to get going for the last 3.5 years will come to fruition, with that being a Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Still don't know why that's not on a T-shirt somewhere. It's just waiting to print money. He walked through the fire. He walked through the fire last night, and he got us through it.
Just some yeah, he did. You're right. Some stats from the game. Tennessee, I didn't think they played that poorly in the first half on the offensive end, but man, Bama could not. Again, this is the thing I've been harping on. Tennessee still has the #1 defense in the country, but in the first half, Alabama couldn't miss. 53% from the field, 40% from 3-point range. Second half, though, Tennessee ratcheted down on the Crimson Tide. 31% from the field, 35% from 3-point range. Tennessee was also aided in the fact that Alabama for the game was 17 of 26 at the free throw line, 8 of 15 in the first half. Not good, 65%. Conversely, Tennessee wasn't a whole lot better. They were 19 of 26 from the free throw line, but first half, Tennessee was 28% from the 3-point line. Second half, they were 4 of 7, 57%. Huge percentage increase in field goal percentages, too. 38% first half, 48% in the second half. Leading scorer for the Vols, once again, Chaz Lanier. He was 2 for 8 from 3-point range, 18 points. Ziegler, 15 points after not getting to play a whole lot in the first half due to foul trouble. And then Mashack chipped in with 11, but big point total, big point production off the bench was Jordan Gainey. He basically kept Tennessee in the game in the first half. 18 points in 29 minutes. And did not hit a 3-pointer. He's over 2 from 3. He did all his damage inside the arc, Harbin.
He did. And if you follow the numbers, for Gainey specifically, or not specifically, but for the team in general, this team just plays better when we're shooting less threes. Mm-hmm. It's the proof is in the pudding. Rick Barnes even said it, and this is kind of when people were maddest at Barnes, was when we lost to Kentucky. And he said, "Do you think this team's a good enough shooting team to shoot 43s a game?" And he just said no.
You're right.
Well, he's right. Well, he's right. And since then, I don't think we've sniffed 43s in a game. And we're winning. And you may get tired of winning. But I would like to present some research that I've done.
Ooh,
If this is a good time to do that.
Yeah, go ahead. Share your knowledge with us.
I was sitting on the couch the other night, and I got to thinking. So I decided to go back through all of SEC play to try to find a pattern. And I believe I have. So if you go back to Tennessee's Very first conference game of the year, they beat Arkansas like a drum, beat them by 24 in Knoxville. Arkansas's very next game after that, they get beat at home by Ole Miss, 73-66. Tennessee's next conference game, that's when they went to Florida and got drummed. Florida's game after that, they went to Arkansas and won 71-63. Then after that, Tennessee played at Texas, won. Texas's game directly after that, they won by 4 at Oklahoma. Following up, Tennessee hosted Georgia, beat them by 18. Georgia's very next game, they lost to Auburn at home, which it's Auburn. I'll cut them some slack on that one. Tennessee's next game, we lost at Vandy. Vandy's next game after that, they lost by 16 to Alabama. After that, Mississippi State comes to town. We beat them by 12. Mississippi State's first game after that, they do beat South Carolina, but it's in overtime. A team that has not won a conference game all year. So I got an asterisk by that one. Auburn-Tennessee game. Everybody knows how that went down. Auburn won at LSU after that. I know what you're probably thinking at this point. You're like, dude, like, get on with it. Like, there's no correlation with what you're saying. So here's where it kind of starts to get a little hairy. Kentucky came to Knoxville and beat us. Their very next game after that, they hosted Arkansas. Calipari's first game back. Arkansas beat them. So Tennessee's opponents are currently 4-4 the first game after playing Tennessee. After that, Florida come to town. That's when we drummed them, got our get-back game. Their very next game, they beat Vandy at home. Tennessee's opponents are 5-4. This is where the trend starts. On February 5th, Missouri came to town. We beat them. Their very next game, which I believe was on the 8th or 9th, they hosted Texas A&M and lost. On February 8th, UT traveled to Oklahoma, won 70-52. Oklahoma's very next game, they went to Missouri and lost by 24. February 11th, Tennessee went to Rupp, got beat. Very next game after that for Kentucky, they went to Texas and got beat. February 15th, Vandy came to town. We beat them, got our get back. Their very next game, they went to Rupp Arena, lost by 21. February 22nd, Tennessee traveled to College Station to take on Texas A&M. We won 77-69. The very next game after that for A&M, they hosted Vandy. They lost 77-69, I think, unless I wrote that down twice. But Vandy did beat them. February 25th, UT went to LSU, won 65-59. LSU's very next game, they went to Mississippi State and lost by 12. For those keeping score at home, that is 6 straight losses for SEC teams the game after they play the Vols. And for the most recent one, on March 1st, Bama came to town, played Tennessee, got beat by 3. Their very next game is hosting Florida in Tuscaloosa.
I mean,
for the gamblers out there, do with this information what you will.
I mean, playing Florida is a tough game in and of itself, but from what you're sharing with us, it's going to be even tougher for the Crimson Tide. It's kind of like that old, under Saban especially, that old Alabama stat, like the teams that play Alabama this week, the next week they normally don't play very well, and they normally lost a lot of times because they got beat up so much when they played them. And I think there's a lot of similarities. It's a different sport, obviously, but there's a lot of similarities here to this, I think, Harbin, what you found.
Yeah. like I said, it just randomly came to me, and I decided to see if there's actually any correlation. And over the entire season, there's a pretty good correlation. But if you look since the beginning of February, so over the last month, there's a huge correlation. If you look since January 28th, opponents are 1-7. So Alabama hosts Florida, which is another marquee matchup. Do with that information what you will. But yeah, I think it has a ton to do with our play style and how physical we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of physical teams in the SEC. It's a physical conference. But Tennessee's at the very top of that list. They may not be number one. They're up there for sure. But yeah, it's probably us and Texas A&M, maybe, off the top of my head. Yeah, it's physical brand of basketball, and there's normally a hangover that comes with it whether you beat us or lose to us. Either way, you're going to feel us. No diddy.
Wow.
I said no. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, great stats. Phil, if you're listening, feel free to use it, but please cite Harb on that. Give him some credit.
Please credit Section YY.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, please do that. Well, I mean, that win was huge for Tennessee. It doesn't cement Tennessee as the 4 seed, but basically, if they beat Ole Miss on Wednesday night, they wrap up the 4 seed because Missouri's a game behind them, and Tennessee has the tiebreaker over the Missouri Tigers. I'm trying to look here. I mean, the next team behind Missouri is Texas A&M. They're 2 games back of Tennessee, and we have the tiebreaker over them. So a win for Tennessee, and they lock in the 4 seed in the SEC tournament. Now, it could get interesting. They're only 1 game back of Florida, 1 game back of Alabama. Those 2 teams have basically locked in at least a 2 or a 3 or a 4 seed. Auburn clinched the conference, like I said a minute ago. But say Florida beats Alabama on Wednesday, and Tennessee and Alabama end up finishing the season tied. Tennessee would jump them, or say Alabama beats Florida. I don't know the tiebreaker scenario for Tennessee and Florida. I need to look into that, but they would be tied. So who gets the tiebreaker over that? Because they split during the season. So I'll try to find that and see if we can share it. But there's some possibilities that Tennessee could move up to the 2 seed this week. If they win out, if they win at Ole Miss and take care of South Carolina at home next Saturday, they'll finish the SEC season 13-5. Excuse me, and could possibly be a 2 or a 3 seed. They could also be the 4 if nothing changes. But something could change because Florida and Bama play each other this week. So we'll keep our eye on that one. And if you're watching the games this week, think about that. Obviously, somebody's going to win between Alabama and Florida. So we're going to be tied with somebody if we beat Ole Miss. But we got to take care of business. We've got, like I mentioned, at Ole Miss, who's kind of not been playing great lately, but they're still, it's going to be at the Pavilion down there in Oxford, and it's not going to be easy, but I think Tennessee should probably go down there and win that game. Trying to pull it up to see. I haven't seen a line or anything yet, Harb. I don't know if it's out yet, but Matchup Predictor has Tennessee at 60.9% to go on the road and win that game against the Rebels. And then they'll come back home on, as I mentioned, on Saturday, 2 o'clock, Thompson Bowling Arena, and they're going to be heavy favorites in that one against the hapless Gamecocks, who are 12-17 overall, 2-14 in the conference. 93% Matchup Predictor for the Vols to win that one. So Tennessee's favored to finish the season 13-5 in the conference and 26-5 overall. I would probably think, if you look back at the season or went back to the Kentucky game, I mean, some doubt crept in my mind too, but I don't think people saw us finishing the SEC season potentially 13-5 if we take care of business this week. Because we weren't playing all that well, and we did not look great against Kentucky. But they found a way to grind out some wins here late, and like I tell Hayes all the time, got to keep grinding. And they have, and they're sitting in really good position, not only for the SEC tournament, but according to most bracketologists, they are now one of the 4 1 seeds. Tennessee's never been a 1 seed in the history of its program in the NCAA tournament. I think, look, I don't honestly don't care what seed we are. As long as you're top, as long as you're a 1 or a 2, I'm fine with that. And I think last year we saw, though, that like we would have been better off being a 1 seed. Instead, we got stuck as the 2 seed and had to play Purdue in the Elite Eight, where if we were a 1 seed, we would not have had that matchup. But I just think it's something else to check off the list, and we should really try to go for it. I know we say it all the time, JWTDG, and it'll take care of itself, and that's what they're doing right now. But I think win these last 2 games. The SEC tournament should not affect a 1 seed unless you just lose to a really bad team. But if they're a 4 seed, they're potentially going to play the 5 seed in theory in their first game if things shake out the way they should. And that's going to be a Missouri or an A&M, and that's not going to be a bad loss on your resume. So I think if you win these last 2 games, Tennessee's almost, unless something crazy's happens, they've almost locked up that 1 seed, Harbin. I don't know what the percentages are on locking it up, and you can't take anything for granted. But going back on the history of the committee, which I know the committee's different every year, but going back on the history of the committee, the conference tournaments don't weigh that heavily into the process. I mean, we won the SEC 3 years ago and stayed a 3 seed when we honestly should have been a 2 seed.
I wouldn't say anything's locked up, to be honest with you.
Unless I think Duke and Auburn are probably the only 2 teams, which I don't agree with Duke being a lock-in number 1 seed, to be honest.
Well, what are you going to do, Nice? You going to put 4 SEC teams as 1 seeds?
If they're the best 4, they should. But we know that's not going to happen.
No. And in my opinion, that might be a reason that Tennessee or Alabama or both get screwed out of a 1 seed, because they may not want 3 SEC teams. It's just I don't know. I could just definitely see Houston getting 1.
Let's see, I need to look up Lenardi. I haven't seen. I know Duke and Auburn in his latest bracketology. Let's see.
In my opinion, it's probably, unless something crazy happens, and I think I'm just setting myself up to not be disappointed, it's going to be Auburn, Duke, Houston, and either Bama, Florida, or Tennessee. I just don't see a world where they give the SEC 3 1 seeds, even if they deserve it. I just don't see it.
So, in the latest bracketology from Lenardi, and there's several I follow, but I'm just picking him because it was the easiest to find. His top overall seed is Auburn. First team out is Georgia. Last team in is Texas. That's kind of crazy because didn't Georgia just pound Texas the other day?
I'm just not updated.
Let's see. From the SEC, last 4 buys, how in the world is Arkansas still in? I can't get over that one. Last 4 in, Oklahoma's in there with Texas. We mentioned first 4 out, Georgia's in there, and then there's nobody else around there. But the 1 seeds are.
I think Texas and Georgia are both better than Arkansas, by the way.
Oh yeah. My dad called me last night, and he said, "I cannot believe they're still talking about Arkansas being in the tournament." And I said, "I think it's just because of who they've played, and they have some decent wins." The 1 seeds right now are Duke in the East, according to Lenardi, Auburn in the South. Oh Lord, what has happened? Went back. Let's see. Houston is the 1 seed according to Lenardi in the West, which is San Francisco. When was this updated? This can't be right. He's still got Alabama as the 1 seed, but I swear I saw earlier today.
Well, it had to be before.
Oh, this is February 28th. That's why. Wrong date.
Yes, it was 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find that. Kill some time here, Harbin.
Okay.
Make yourself useful here.
But that kind of proves my point on what I was talking about because I really wasn't basing it off of anything. It was just kind of pure intellectual will, I reckon. But Houston went undefeated at home this season. They're good. They've been very good for the last, 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah.
Unless they just completely fall apart and maybe lose in the first game they play in the Big 12 conference tournament. I just don't see them falling out of a 1 seed. The SEC's not getting 3 1 seeds. It's just not happening.
So right now, Lenardi, I found his update from earlier today. In the South, he's got Auburn as the 1, East, Duke as the 1, Midwest, Houston as the 1, West is now Tennessee as the 1 seed, which would be San Francisco where the Warriors play. The 2 seeds, he's got Michigan State in the South, Iowa State in the West with Tennessee, Florida in the East, Alabama in the Midwest. And then it's followed up. 3 seeds are St. John's, Wisconsin, Texas Tech, Michigan. 4 seeds, Arizona, Texas A&M, Purdue, and Kentucky. You still got Kentucky. That was another one my dad asked me about. He was like, why is Kentucky? Or somebody asked me last night. I was like, because they have like 9 quad 1 wins.
Now, here's my question to you. Would you rather be a 1 seed in the West or a 2 seed in the East or South?
That West region looks, Iowa State is pretty tough. Wisconsin's tough. They're dealing with some injuries right now. A&M, we've played them, so they don't really frighten me, but they're tough. The East is, let's see, Duke, Florida, Texas Tech, and Purdue. I don't know if I see much difference in it, to be honest. Now, the Midwest region, honestly, is the one I would rather be in. Alabama, Michigan, and Kentucky. Michigan and Kentucky are good, but they don't really scare me. Houston and Alabama do, but you're not going to see them theoretically till either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. So, well, you won't see theoretically any of those teams until the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. I don't know. That's a good question.
I think you take the best draw and go from there, personally. And especially with our brand of basketball. Defense travels. Defense will always travel. I don't know. I don't even want to get into that. We're going to get what we get. Even if we get a 1 seed, somebody's going to bitch that they sent us out to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people you can't please with anything.
They're going to be, we're a 1 seed. We got to go to California. God.
Yeah, what the heck?
Just to update.
Why does Auburn get to stay in the South?
Yeah. Because we're the number 4 overall seed. See, there's math here. The 1 seed gets to stay closest to home. The 4th number 1 seed has to travel the furthest. That's how math works for those who, and I went to Carter, so I'm not great at math, but that's how it works.
There's 1,000,000% going to be people if we do get the 4th overall seed and Bama gets the 5th overall seed. They're going to be like, oh my God, on paper we got 1 over on them, but Bama got a better draw.
Yeah.
And it's
committee they're screwing us for that. They're screwing us for that lawsuit. That's what everybody will say.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
So I mentioned earlier
that
Texas and Georgia in there. It looks like Texas may just be in the field at this point because he's got Arkansas falls to the last 4 in. So their last 4 in with Georgia. and Oklahoma's last four in. But I don't see Texas on last four buys. Last four buys, according to Lenardi, is Baylor, San Diego State, Indiana, and Ohio State. Here's Texas. I'm sorry. First four out: Boise State, Xavier, North Carolina, and Texas. North Carolina's resume is ble-
Awful.
bleak. Their only chance to get in, Harb, is one of two ways: beat Duke next weekend, win your other game, and then beat Duke, and hope that vaults you into the last four in or last four buys, or win the ACC tournament. That's the only way they're getting in at this point because they're not playing anybody. They beat Miami Saturday by 19. That ain't going to get you any. That's not going to get you anywhere.
They are 1-10 against quad one.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, their resume's all. I looked at that this afternoon. Their resume's awful.
I believe it said quads 2 through 4. They are, I think it's 17-1.
Well, as you mentioned that, I've got it pulled up right here. Let me read that for the listeners. For those that didn't know, this is a crazy one. Auburn is 16-2 versus quad one, Harbin. 16-2. They've played 18. That's crazy in itself. They played 18 quad one games, but they've won 16 of them. So
Pretty good.
Tennessee's tied with Alabama. We have a better win percentage against quad one. We're 10-5, and Bama's 10-6, but we're tied for the second most quad wins in the country. And then Kentucky's right behind us at 9-1. But I'm looking for North Carolina. Let's see where they're
9-1.
Or sorry, not 9-1, 9-9. I'm sorry. I saw a one in there somewhere, and it threw me off. Let's see. Where are the Tar Heels at here, Harbin? Can't be good.
They have one quad one win.
So they jumped up from 45 to 42 this weekend. They are 1-10 in quad one. That's not good. 42 is not good if you're on the bubble in net ranking. Ken Palm has North Carolina at 39, so right on the mark.
Can you confirm their record against quads 2 through 4?
Sure, let's do that.
I think it's 17-1.
Let's see. Against quad two, they're 5-0. Against quad three, they're 7-1, and quad four, they're 6-0.
18-1.
18-1.
Essentially, they lose to good teams and they beat bad teams.
Yes.
That is an NIT championship team if I've ever heard one.
Yes. You know, Tennessee is also undefeated against quad two, three, and four. 4-0 against quad two, 4-0 against quad three, 6-0 against quad four, but 10-5 against quad one. That's a national title resume right there. National title contender resume to me.
Fun fact, since Ken Palm has been tracking stats, which I don't know how long it's been. I think it's 20 years or
something like that, yeah.
Every national title winner, except for one, has had a top 21 offense and a top 31 defense.
So where do you think Tennessee's at defensively?
Defense, they're number one.
Where are they at offensively?
They're not inside the top 21.
They've actually moved up a few spots over the last week. As of a couple of weeks ago, they were 38th on offensive efficiency. Now they're at 27, so they're inching their way closer to that.
By the time the tournament starts, I'm telling you guys, by the time the tournament starts, if they're 21 or better in offensive efficiency in Ken Palm, we're a legitimate national title contender.
Yeah, I've got that.
I think there's 6 teams that qualify for that right now. There's a video of a guy talking about it. I don't have it right in front of me. But the surprising one and a little dark horse one for me is Clemson.
Yeah, you've got Duke, Auburn, Houston, Florida. Iowa State.
Yep.
Barely makes it in. They're number 21 in adjusted offensive rating. Arizona, they're 18 in offense, 18 in defense. Whoa, yikes. St. John's, number 2 in the land in defensive rating, Number 71 offensive. That ain't
By the
going
way,
to cut
shout
it.
out to them, Big East champions. They,
Um, well, this has Clemson at 17th in offense and 24th in defense. What'd you say the defense had to be? Top 21
31.
in both?
No, top 21 in offense, top 31 in defense.
Gotcha. So they're in there. What just happened? I don't know why I did that. Let's see. I stopped at Clemson. Let's see. Purdue doesn't qualify. They're not very good defensively. That looks like it may be it, Harb.
Yeah, I think it was like 7.
Louisville's close. Louisville is at 24 offensive efficiency, 25th defensive efficiency. Marquette's not far off. They're 30th defense, 20th offense. Ole Miss is actually not too far away, but I don't think they can move up that many spots. But that's probably your contenders right there. Duke, Auburn, Houston, Florida. Alabama is not in there. They're 3 offense, 37 defense. Texas Tech. Oh, they're in there. 9th offense, 29th defense. So they would be there. So Gonzaga's not. Wisconsin, 11th offensive efficiency, 31st defensive efficiency. So they're in there. There's quite a few teams here. Iowa State, like I mentioned. Missouri's not in it. They're not very good defensively.
I think the guy said there was, or at the time of him posting that video, there was 9.
Maryland, they're 28th. Never mind.
Anyway,
Well, anyway, Tennessee's got some work to do, but they can maybe have a hot night against Ole Miss and South Carolina and see what happens.
but we are a national title contender because we were ranked inside the top 12 in the Week 6 AP poll.
Yeah. Honestly, there's all these different things that, like, if you're in this position at this certain time of the year, the last so and so many national champions have come from that group. And then you're in this section, when the season ends, you're in the national title picture because the national champion has come from that. There's all these different things out here, but the bottom line is you just got to go out there and win the game. JWTDG. So we'll see. Tennessee's got 2 more opportunities this week to finish the SEC season 13-5 and be a 4, 3, or a 2 seed in Nashville the week after next. We'll keep our eye on it. Briefly, Harb, Tennessee Diamond Vols. We talked about them last week. They're playing some legitimate upper echelon Division I opponents this week, or this weekend in Houston, Texas, at the Houston Astros Charity College Classic. They did pretty well, Harb. They beat Oklahoma State 5-2 on Friday. They beat Rice 13-3, which Rice is a shell of its former self. They used to be in the national title picture a lot. They're not anymore. They beat them 13-3 Saturday, and then beat a pretty decent Arizona team, and so is Oklahoma State, but beat a pretty decent Arizona team today 5-1. I'm confused, Harbin. Tennessee, I hear from people all the time that Tennessee only hits home runs at Lindsey Nelson Stadium because it's a little league park. Did they move the fences in at the Astros Stadium, Dacon Park? Because Tennessee hit like 9 home runs this weekend. Or was the wind blowing out or something? Like what? I mean, they had to move it in because Levi Clark hit one on the train tracks. There's no way he can hit it that far.
Well, nobody got to see it because it was on Astros.com. But I think, and you may know more of this because you're with Parks and Rec, but I think they may have borrowed the little white fences that they used to use at Bauer.
They probably did.
So, or at Carnes, those little white fences that they use for like 10U games.
We had some go missing recently.
Yeah,
I think that may have been where they went.
Astros may have borrowed them, and then banged them into a trash can when they were done with them.
No, Levi Clark hit one off of the train tracks. Gavin, God, I keep screwing his name up. Gavin, is it Kylan? I got to figure that one out.
Spell it.
Killen.
No, I have no idea.
Somebody out there will correct me, tweet me, or whatever. He hit one in the second. We had multiple second deck home runs. I think Peebles hit one today against Arizona in the second deck of the Astros Stadium. I just like you get on Twitter after a Tennessee game, and they're oh that Little League park because we hit bombs out of that stadium that are carrying 400 plus foot, but they think oh it's 320 down the line. Tennessee is hitting home runs in a Little League park. Guys, they're hitting bombs. It don't matter what park. I mean, I saw them hit bombs in Omaha. I was there. I saw it with my own two eyes in Omaha. They hit bombs. They rake. Tennessee baseball. I hesitate to call them national title contenders. It's a little early in the season, but they look awfully good. They're one of like 7 remaining undefeated teams in college baseball. They got kind of a cupcake week coming up. Those cupcake games can get a little tricky sometimes because you're playing different lineups and everything. But they've got Radford at home on Tuesday night, and then St. Bonaventure comes to town this weekend to Lindsey Nelson Stadium. But so far, so good for the Diamond Vols.
Niece, can I start a new segment?
Who's it presented by?
Andrew's Physical Therapy.
It's like Sunday Conversations. Can I start a new segment presented by Momitos?
Yeah, can I ask you our P4 question of the episode?
Yeah.
If I told you to point to where Radford is on a map, could you do it? I want you to guess where it is, and I'm not looking. I'm going to guess where it is, and we're going to see who gets closer because I don't have a clue.
So I might know this because we have an intern that is currently a student at Radford University. I think it's in, but I don't know. I think I heard her say it's in Virginia, but I don't know that. I don't think I'm right.
My guess is New York. I'm going to Google it. And I can't wait to see how dumb we look. I look extremely stupid.
I got it.
It's in Radford, Virginia.
I swear I knew I heard her say that, but I was not very confident in that. Because we had a meeting with all of our interns the other day, and they were all introducing themselves, and I vaguely remember her saying I attend Radford University in Virginia, but I was like, man, am I making that up? I don't think I am, but
dude, it's like 15 minutes away from Blacksburg.
I was also totally zoned out when all the interns were talking too. So
it is literally in the shadow of Virginia Tech.
That's crazy. I did not realize that it was where it is.
You could have gave me 47 guesses.
Wow, it is. It's right next to, I'm looking it up here. It's right next to Blacksburg.
Well, that was our new geography lesson powered by Andrew's Physical Therapy.
Thank you to Andrew's Physical Therapy for sponsoring not only the show, but this new segment here on the YY8 podcast. So remember, if you ever need to get some physical therapy, go see those guys. We'll put the numbers, their logos on the screen, but we'll put some info up to point you in the right direction. So thank you to those guys. But Tennessee baseball looks like it's going to be another fun season, Harbin.
Yeah, it's definitely looking that way. Oklahoma State's more than decent. I believe they were number 16 at the time when we played them.
They were.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Arizona was ranked
24th.
Yeah, which late February, early March rankings don't mean a ton, but that definitely means that they have a pulse.
We actually have two midweek games this week. Radford on Tuesday, and then we're bringing that midweek heat against the Xavier Musketeers on Wednesday.
Ooh, we need to have Bob Huggins throw out the first pitch.
Bob Huggins.
since he is so fond of
Yes.
your Musketeers.
He loves the Xavier Musketeers, doesn't he?
If you don't know what I'm referring to, just Google it because I cannot say it on here. He said it on the radio, and that's why he got fired from Cincinnati.
Yeah. No, was it Cincinnati or was it West Virginia?
No, he was at Cincinnati when it happened because
Okay.
Cincinnati and Xavier are crosstown rivals.
I just thought he got fired from Cincinnati for being a drunk, but maybe I'm wrong.
You got it backwards.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Harbin didn't get to watch Elimination Chamber. I did. If you didn't get to watch it, check it out. Carter Hornets, huge win against the Gibbs Eagles. And I wanted to reference this, Harbin, because it was actually, I don't give flowers to Gibbs very much at anything. You know, for those that don't know, Gibbs Eagles, Morgan Wallen's high school, Kenny Chesney's high school, they're Carter's rival. You know, it's like Carter and Gibbs, they're rivals. So I'm not going to normally don't give flowers to anybody from Gibbs. And I know several people over there, and they're great people, but I'm still not giving them flowers, Sweat Bee. But I'm going to give this kid some flowers, man. Zach Turner, their point guard, or I don't know what he plays. He plays everywhere. He had 33 last night, and I think the last time he played Carter, they had 38. That kid was unconscious last night. But Carter, Chris Cowan, he had 31 himself. So it was a duel between those two guys. So at the half, the score was, I think there was 79 total points at the half. Those guys had 43 of the 79 points at the half, just between those two. I think Cowan, or they call him Moo, had 22, and Turner had 21. So they had 43 of the total 79 points. Carter went on to win 79-61. They'll play Clinton on Tuesday night at Fulton High School in the region semifinals. I think the Hornets will be favored, and they should look to go on to play either Anderson County or Fulton for the region title. If they're able to win the region title, we'll host a home game at Jim Williams Gymnasium. I don't know when that is. I don't know if it's next Saturday or next Monday or the following Monday. But anyways, let's not look ahead too far. We got business to take care of. But got to win one more to keep yourself out of elimination for at least one game. So shout out to the Hornets. Great atmosphere last night at Jim Williams Gymnasium. It always is when the Eagles come to town.
Shout out Coach Kate.
Doing a heck of a job there, man. They've done nothing but win. And Carter, I've always said it, Carter's a basketball school. It just is. It's always that we were good when I was there. We're kind of like Tennessee, though. We just can't get over the hump. We just got to get over the hump. We're close. We're close, but they'll get there. I have faith in the boys. Support them boys.
Support them boys.
Support them boys.
So when does Carter play again? If you're telling people to support them boys.
Well, I just mentioned that. They play Tuesday night versus Clinton.
Oh,
at Fulton High School. I think it's
I
they
didn't
play
hear
at 6.
I didn't hear a day when you said that. I heard
Gotcha.
the Dragons.
So they play Clinton Dragons Tuesday, I think at 6:00 at Fulton High School. If not, they play at 7:45. So if you get there at 6 and they play at 7:45, watch the first game. High school basketball in tournament season is one of my favorite things to go watch. They play in these. Sometimes you do play in home gyms, but you're playing in a neutral site gym for the most part until you get to select rounds. But it's I went to Alcoa a few years ago and watched every bit of the region tournament, and Carter wasn't even. They had been eliminated, but it's fun to go watch that. It's a great time of year. You got anything else, Harbin?
I don't believe so.
So I've got one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Time changes this upcoming weekend, and
It is.
that's literally what I'm looking forward to. That's all I got. Like that's all. Like I'm laser focused on it being daylight when Jeopardy ends.
So I've got something for you to think about for next week, Harbin, for next week's show. You've
Okay.
been a great champion for the people on this show, the YY8 listeners. Everybody loves you, great champion. But I want you to be my champion. And I don't want your title as champion. I want your soul. So do the right thing and become my champion. I'll give you till next week to decide, but become my champion on next week's show.
Sounds pretty gay.
Whoa!
I know what you're alluding to. Yeah, as soon as we get done recording, I'm gonna go rewatch, or I'm gonna go watch Elimination.
I'm gonna go watch it again. I'm gonna go watch Elimination Chamber again. It was good. It was one of the better shows I've watched in a while. Watch the women's Elimination Chamber match was great.
Okay.
Not just because there's women in it. It was actually some storytelling going on there, especially right at the start of it. It was that's where I missed Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross announcing.
I did see a tweet or a post on X, the Everything app, excuse me, referring to the big thing that happened at the end of Elimination Chamber, and it said a JR quote, "You sick son of a bitch would have sent this moment to the next millennium."
That gets said in there at some point. I don't know if it's in that part, but Michael Cole says something very similar. I think it may be in the KO Sami Zayn match. He says it about one of them, but he does say that. Because when he said that, I immediately thought of last week or a couple of weeks ago when I was sick, and he said it about me on here. So, go watch that. It's good. If you haven't, check it out. Leading up to WrestleMania 41.
Yeah, it says why. I'm not gonna say the name, but
I miss Jim Ross, man. I love those old clips when something happens and Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler screaming and yelling. God, it's so like I could just watch that instead of current wrestling. I could just watch that and be fine the rest of my life. That would entertain me until I pass on. Just watching late 90s, early 2000s WWF, WWE with Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. It's just everything is so good about it. It's just everything. Anyways, great show. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to Andrew's Physical Therapy for being our champions on here and helping us out. Great partners to work with. If you need to go see anybody for physical therapy needs, go see those guys either in Blaine or Strawberry Plains. You can visit them on their website at the letter P, the number 4, physicaltherapy.com, I believe. Hope I'm not saying that wrong. I'm trying to go off of memory here. But check those guys out. Andrew's Physical Therapy. Remember, if you're listening, try to find our YouTube page and like and subscribe and comment and share. And if you're on YouTube, check us out if you're driving to work or traveling or at work, like Brandon Watson in that equipment he drives around and moves earth with. He's listening to us inside the cockpit, Harbin. He sends me videos every week of listening to the show. So if you're working, listen to us. Pop in your earbuds or listen to us, and we'll try to get you through at least about an hour and a half of your day. Or if you spread it out over 2 or 3 days, we can get you through about 20, 25 minutes every day. So anyways, remember to find us, share us, like us, subscribe to us. We do appreciate it. So Harbin, are you good? Are we done?
I believe that's all I got.
Well, go enjoy the Elimination Chamber. I'm going to go rewatch it. I'm going to go wind down. Got a busy week ahead of us. The Vols got 2 games on Wednesday night and then one on Saturday to finish the season. Diamond Vols are at home for 5 games this week, 2 during the midweek, 3 on the weekend. So if you're looking for something to do, go watch the Diamond Vols or the basketball team. But for Austin Harbin, I'm Negative Nice. Go Vols, and we'll see you guys next week on the Section YY8 podcast.